Here's the Greenger ready for some new parts. It's time to change the handlebar, get rid of the crossbar pad. What we're going to use is a fat bar, some new clamps, and switch it out. First job here is to remove the clamps that hold the 7/8 bar on for the fat bar. So we need to get under here and remove the nut. I've already loosened it, so I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. The difference here is we're gonna need to put a new bolt in place for the new mounts. This one uses 2 bolts on the triple clamp. The new mount only has a single bolt. To start this, we need to remove the 2 bolts that hold the brake lever on. We need to remove the screw that holds the kill switch on. Over on the other side, we have a very feeble screw that threads into plastic here. This is going to be literally hand removal with an Allen wrench. And then we need to remove the brake master by taking the bolts out. That should get our handlebar free. I'm almost finished here. I forgot to point out that we have to take the throttle housing off. I'm being very careful with this because this is a special throttle cable that goes to the electronics. So I don't know what to expect from this, but I don't want to damage anything because I don't know if this is common parts or not. Oh, there we go. Now we can take this off the end of the handlebar. One comment to make about the handlebar here is after taking the throttle off, there are no holes drilled in the handlebar for indexing pins or anything else that will keep the controls from rotating. So this is just a straight handlebar, no drilling is required. The handlebar is all removed now. I've lifted it off the triple clamp and put it down here. I'm going to keep all the parts together in case I ever need to reassemble the original stuff. I put the bolts back in, put the nuts back on, so I don't lose anything. Time to move on to putting this handlebar on. Okay, unfortunately what I found here is these holes in the triple clamp are going to need to be bored out a little bit. The reason is the size of the bolt is a little beefier on the clamps that I have here. So this needs to be drilled out slightly larger. I'm just going to take a power drill and try to get those to guide through. We only need to drill the ones at the back. The ones at the front can stay as is. Okay, I have crudely bolted on the clamps using the bolts that included with them, but these bolts are too short. You can see the thickness of the triple clamp here plus the thickness of the handlebar mounts. I need a longer bolt. So what I need to do now is measure that distance so we know what size bolt to order. The other thing I'm going to do is, this is a hex head cap screw. I'm going to put this is a hex cap screw. I'm going to put a hex bolt on it so I can get a wrench in there and have an easier time tightening this. It's hard to get in there with a hex wrench. So since I have to order different bolts, I'm going to change the type of bolt. Okay, that is going to be my measurement there. I'm measuring from the bottom of the triple clamp up to the bottom of the handlebar mount, and it looks like that's going to be about 40 millimeters. I took the caps off the top, and now it's time to drop the handlebar on, and that's how that's going to fit. And we will put the caps on and start reassembling the handlebar pieces. Caps are back on. It's time to tighten the screws down just a little, just to snug it up. I'm going to tighten the front, and then I will leave the back mounts a little bit loose so we can position the handlebar where we're trying to line everything up. And then we can start reassembling the handlebar ends and controls back on. Go. We can rotate it now into position. Alignment marks here. There aren't any notches or anything on the handlebar clamps. So these marks aren't very helpful at this point. There we go with just a basic handlebar. Onto the twist grip, I have slid this back onto the end of the bar. The grip is closed on the end. The handlebar is longer, so it will only slide on this far. I may want to cut the end off the grip so I can slide it on further and make the handlebars less wide. I will then have to cut off the end of the metal handlebar to make everything work out. But that's not necessary right now. We're just reassembling everything to get to the point where we fine-tune it in the end. Okay, I did have to cut the end of the handlebar off because I could not adjust the handlebar to get where it needed to be so that the lever here lined up with the grip. Otherwise the grip was way out here, the handle grip was in too far, and the brake line would not reach. So I had to cut the end of the twist grip throttle off. That was already kind of anticipated. The other problem is with the kill switch here. You'll see that has to mount here before the bend on the handlebar, so it needs to go right there. But the wire goes down in here in this little opening between the triple clamp and the mount for the ignition switch. What I need to do, because it's not long enough, it comes out right here, so I need to run it up on the inside instead of up here at the front. The switch will not fit through the opening that is left down there, so I need to remove the bracket, snake that cable back in front, and then run it back up from here along the handlebar so I can fit it back up. Wasn't expecting that, but the handlebar is a little bit too long out here and there's just not enough length. So we have to make some changes. What I've done here is loosen these two bolts on this metal bracket, and it allows me to move the bracket out just a little bit from the triple clamp, and that leaves just enough room down here where my blue finger is to get this cable unstuck, so I can pull it through here because I have enough of an opening and get this where it needs to go now on the back side of the fork. Yay! So I didn't have to tear everything apart on the front, just loosen the two bolts and I will snug them back up and done with that. Okay, our clamp bolt looks like it's a 10 millimeter for the diameter. Up under here, I've removed the original clamp bolt and I'm going to replace it with a hex head bolt instead of the cap screw. What's important here is that because the clamps are different that hold the handlebars, I need a slightly longer bolt. That's because this section here goes a little bit deeper than the original mount. So I am going to put in the new screw and tighten everything up. The hex head will allow me to get in here with a wrench without space constraints that I had with the cap screw. That'll get the handlebar mount finished up. On this side, I have reattached the the rear brake master, and then we need to get the grips put back on. See, these need to be cut off as well. Getting ready to put the handlebar end on, and what I've had to do is the little metal cones that fit on the part, I've turned these down, you can see the silver, and now I need to thread them on to the handlebar end until it starts to compress the rubber hose that's pinched between the two. Now that I have that in place, I can put this in the handlebar end and tighten on the end. One of the things I had to do here was drill out the end of the handlebar to fit the handlebar end into the aluminum handlebar that I bought off eBay. This is a $30 handlebar. Don't know if you can see it or not, but inside the inner diameter of the tube narrows down. and unfortunately I could not get the handlebar end all the way into the handlebar because it was bottoming out, so I had to take a large drill bit and drill this out. Obviously I cut off the end of the handlebar so it's the correct length, and now I need to fit the handlebar inside and tighten it up. Now to do this I have to compress things a little bit and just tighten the bolt, and that rubber piece will be squished between the two metal cones and will allow that to grab the inside of the handlebar and finish off the job. Okay, here is our finished handlebar, and there's the next step coming, and that is going to be this plate I have drilled out already. This is going to mount on top of the mounts there. That's why I got rid of the crossbar pad, was so that I can put this plate on here and then mount a GoPro or whatever else I need on there. That'll give me a nice flat surface. But anyway, that will be a future effort. Hand grips don't match. That's what I had in the cabinet, but the handlebar ends do. Anyway, that's our fat bar mounts. This is a large 1 1/8 handlebar here with standard 7/8 ends. There we go.